Hi, chemistry students. This is Mrs. Mitzik, and I'm doing part 2 of section 6.3. We're going to talk about a second trend, which is ionization energy, first of all. Let's look at this a little more closely. Ionization energy is the energy required to remove an electron from an atom. It makes sense that if that electron is not attracted to the nucleus as much, it's going to take less energy. Makes sense, right? So what we need to do when we're considering the trends is we have to think about those Coulombic attractions. How far away is that outermost energy or electron from the nucleus? Okay, and how far across the period? Do we have an increased nuclear charge because of that periodic trend? When we consider those things, it'll help us to understand the trends. So let's move on. The first ionization energy tends to decrease from top to bottom within a group and increase from left to right. When I look at this chart, we're only going to consider the first ionization energy. And you can see that hydrogen and helium, they're in the same period. Lithium through neon, same period. That's the second period. Here's the third period, fourth period. You can clearly see that as you go across the period, you are increasing in your ionization energy. We can see then what's going to happen to an element by looking at that trend in ionization energy. We know already that metals want to lose their electrons to become a positive ion. Okay, why do they do that? Because it's really easy to lose those electrons. It's either because they, one, are far away from the nucleus, or because their nuclear charge is pretty low to whatever it's going to be bonding with. So I'm looking at this data right here. I can see helium, neon, argon, krypton, xenon. I'm looking at these and they're all in the same group. They're noble gases. And you can see that the actually happens is that the ionization energy is decreasing as you go from top to bottom. Why does that happen? Because as you go down a group, you're getting further away from the nucleus with those outermost electrons. You're also getting more shielding as more energy levels are being filled. So those electrons are shielded from the nucleus as well as being further away from the nucleus. So it's really easy to rip those electrons off. It takes very little energy. So you can look at it as the size of an atom increases, nuclear charge has a smaller effect on the electrons, and the highest occupied energy level, less energy is required to remove an electron from that energy level. And so that first ionization energy is lower. Periodic trends in ionization energy. In general, the first ionization of the representative elements increases from left to right across a period. This trend can be explained by the nuclear charge and the shielding effect. As you go across a period of a periodic table, pretend there's a periodic table here. As you go from left to right, what's happening is you're in the same energy level. So the shielding effect remains constant. It has no effect. But we are increasing the nuclear charge by 1 as we go across because you're getting 1 more proton for every atomic number higher you're going. So because of that, you have a greater nuclear charge. It's holding the electrons in tighter, makes it more difficult to remove the electron. So as a result, there's an increase in the attraction of the nucleus for an electron, and it takes more energy to remove. This is just a summary. So ionization energy generally increases as you go across a period, and generally it's going to decrease as you go down the group. So which has a larger ionization energy? That's what's going to look like on the test. I'm going to say which has a larger or which has a smaller ionization energy. I'll do the first one with you. So cesium or sodium, first of all, look to see if they're going in the same period or if they're in the same group. I can see that cesium and sodium are in the alkali metals, group 1A. So we're definitely looking at a group trend here. Cesium is further down in the group, so that means its outermost electrons are further away from the nucleus. There's more shielding involved, so those electrons are super easy to snatch off. So sodium then would have the higher or larger ionization energy. Pause this video and do the other two. So silicon and chlorine are in the same period. They're in that same period, but chlorine is further to the right. That means it has a greater nuclear charge. It has more protons in its nucleus. Okay, remember the shielding has stayed constant. So chlorine then would require more energy. Same thing's true with tin and tellurium. Tellurium is definitely further to the right. It has a greater nuclear charge. So because of that periodic trend, tellurium wins. Let's look at electronegativity now for trends. Electronegativity is the ability of an atom of an element to attract electrons when the atom is in a compound. I like to think of electronegativity as how much of an electron hog you are. How much you really want that electron compared to the other guy you're next to. I like to compare this to my older sister and I fighting over cake when we were little, and fighting over cake even over Thanksgiving, fighting over cake, okay? And she is definitely the bigger electron cake hog. She always gets the bigger piece, okay? So she's got a greater cake negativity. I don't know if that helps you any, but there you go. What they've done here is they've arranged things in groups, and you can see clearly that down the group, you have a greater electronegativity. Okay, that electronegativity, is it greater? No, pay attention. As you go down a group, the electronegativity decreases. You can see the numbers are getting smaller. Why would that happen? Because electronegativity is how much you can attract electrons to yourself. If you have if you're looking right here and going down, here you're closer to the nucleus. Here you're further away. The further away your nucleus is from the outside of your atom, the less likely you are to attract electrons to you. Okay, there's no attraction because that nuclear charge just can't reach there because of the distance and the shielding. Okay, as you're going across a period, you can see that electronegativity generally is going to increase. Why does it increase? Because as you look in a period, shielding is the same for all of these, so it's all about gaining one more proton in the nucleus. That increased nuclear charge gains greater attraction to other electrons from other atoms, so it gives them a greater electronegativity. I'd like you to notice that fluorine has the greatest electronegativity, thereby making fluorine the most reactive nonmetal. Why? Its nucleus is close by, and it's got a huge nuclear charge compared to the others in its group. So it's got both Coulombic attraction things going for it. If you notice down here, cesium has a very low electronegativity. Now, most people think, well, that means that cesium's not very reactive. I can't even say, I was going to say contrary to what you're thinking. There we go. I was going to say something French, and I don't know French. I don't know why I was trying to do that. Okay, contrary to what you might think, cesium actually is the most reactive metal. Its electrons are far away. If you remember, metals want to lose electrons to get stable. So if you're looking at cesium, its electrons are far away from the nucleus, lots of shielding, very easy to remove them. Okay, very low electronegativity or low ionization energy. Okay, so it takes very little ionization energy to remove them, thereby making cesium the most reactive metal. Most reactive non-metal, fluorine. Most reactive metal, cesium. And the unit is Pauling. So generally, metals have low values and nonmetals have high values. Now, if you notice, I put excluding noble gases. Noble gases are stable. Because they are stable, they really have no desire to gain electrons or even lose electrons for that matter. Okay, so electronegativity values are usually considered 0 Paulines for noble gases because they're already stable. So again, group trend, cesium is the least electronegative element, but make sure you know it's the most reactive metal. Okay, and why? I already explained that, so we can move on. But you could pause the video and answer those questions. Most electronegative element is fluorine because it's got a high value. And why? Again, you should be able to answer that. I already answered it before. See if you remember. So generally, electronegativity values decrease from top to bottom within a group. For representative elements, the values tend to increase from left to right across a period. And again, recognize that we don't really talk much about the transition and intertransition metals in this unit because they do things that are really variable. The trends don't really adhere. So be careful. I have asked which element has the smaller electronegativity value. So we're looking at which one has the lower electronegativity value. Again, I'll do the first one with you. So chlorine and iodine. Chlorine and iodine are both halogens. They're in the same group. So this is a group trend. Which is going to have a smaller electronegativity? Definitely it's going to be iodine. Why? Because iodine has its nucleus farther away, okay, and it's shielded. So it doesn't have as great of a pull on electrons from another element. It's also larger. Okay, so go ahead and do the other 3. So if you're looking at selenium and tellurium, this is a group trend. Okay, and the group trend says that tellurium then would have then the smaller electronegativity. Okay. If we're looking at aluminum or sulfur, this is a periodic trend. Sulfur is further to the right. It has a greater nuclear charge, so aluminum then has the smaller electronegativity. When I'm looking at SR or K, now strontium and potassium, they're not in the same period or the same group. So what do I do? What do I do? Oh my goodness. Okay, well, let's consider it this way. Okay, strontium is definitely further down the periodic table, right? So that, remember, has precedence. And since it has precedence, we work with the group trend, and strontium would have a smaller electronegativity because its nucleus is further away, so there's not as much pulling power with electrons from another element. This is just a summary chart. You might want to copy this down. You do not have to do the things dealing with size of cations, size of anions, and ionic size. We're not dealing with that in this unit. However, we do need to talk about atomic size, ionization energy, electronegativity, nuclear charge, shielding. Those things it would be a good idea for you to have for your test. So I think it's a great idea for you to write it up like this. Here are some key concepts, okay, that we've already talked about. And here are the glossary terms, and there are other glossary terms too, so make sure you've got those from the other chapters too. These are the notes. This finishes up the notes for the unit. What I would do if I were you, I would be studying to make sure that I have my notes in a clear, concise way, not just a bunch of notes. Otherwise, you're going to be really, really hurried to get done with that test. It's not an unlimited time test. You have, like usual, a class period. So you need to have an understanding as to what's going on. That's it. Have a good day.